Just wanted to do what's in your craft bag, or what's in your knitting bag, what's in your so this is what's in my bag. I do knitting and crocheting, so you'll see a little bit of both in there. I just got these bags just the other day. I got the tip from Jen's Family Life. She uses a tool bag. So I went to my local hardware store and I found me the tool bags that's made out of this canvas, so it's very light. And so I got the small one and the large one because I actually the small ones for the smaller projects, on the go, quick fill and whatnot. But since I actually knit and crochet lap blankets and afghans and baby blankets, the projects are much larger and I actually would need a larger bag. So that's why I ended up getting both of them. And so they open up nice and wide, and you can you know fill lots of stuff in them. And plus all the pockets make everywhere. The little one only has these three, but the big one has pockets inside and outside and whatnot. So it was fits tons and tons of stuff. So I just wanted to show you the bags, and then I'll show you what's inside with my crochet case. And I actually have two sets of the interchangeable Denise set is what this is. And the reason I have two is because I do Tunisian crochet, and it requires two of the same hooks when you do double-ended Tunisian. So this is the second set, and the first set is over here on the other side. I'll show you in a little bit. This here is a latch hook, and I use this for basically tassels. So I made my nieces and nephews beanie hats, and they basically is tassels all on the top of the head to make the little mohawk beanie look. So, and then over here is the main set that I actually use. And as you can see, I added these little tubes onto the end of them because when I actually crochet, let me grab one of these and then show you one of the original ones. I wanted it first of all not permanent, so that I could just slip it right off, and so when I need them for Tunisian crochet, it's not going to be permanently attached. But I actually crochet with my hand over the whole hook like a knife, like it's going to stab you. So yeah, but when I hold it like this, as you can see, it kind of is it digs into the palm of my hand. So I added the little tubes, and then I also added a pencil grip and some yarn to kind of fill it up. And so when I actually crochet, it's not going to do any of that digging in. So that's why I have the tubes. You can actually put the little cord on there and it won't dig in, but then you have the little cord dangling on the other end. So yeah, so this is how I ended up doing it. And so that's my crochet hooks. And then my knitting set, also another interchangeable set. And this is my husband got me this set because I just thought the needles were just very, very pretty, and so I just so he got me the set. And as you can see, there's some missing, and I keep this sticky note in here so that whenever, because I tend to forget, where did I leave these needles? Where are these missing needles at? Well, on the sticky note, I write down the size of the needles and what project it's in, so that when I'm like wondering where are my needles, I look at, oh, it's in this project, and then I know where the project is, then I know where my needles are. So that's what the sticky note's for, and that's, this is my knitting set. A ruler. We all have to have a ruler to figure out, measurements. And I have scissors. And I actually lost the little case that these came in. So I cut some of that tube that I was telling you about earlier, and I just put it on there so that the point doesn't sit there and poke into my items. So I made my own little point protector. So that's my scissors and lip balm, because I don't like dry lips. And the crochet hook, because this is whenever I'm on the go, I just get the appropriate hook and throw it in my bag, and I was out earlier, so that's why that was in there. So here are some beads, And the reason I have this in here is because I actually didn't really use row counters. So this in essence was my row counter. And so working on smaller patterns, and it's in, you know, crochet so many rows like an amigurumi and whatnot, I would just grab the, you know, the appropriate number of rows, and as I would complete the rounds, I would just kind of count them out. And so this in essence was my row counter. But I actually did start going and using row counters. And see, this is a row counter that I'm using for some gloves, and I have them on a string so that I can put them over a bottle. And I'll show you the another one that I have with a that's on a bottle. This is for on a different project, and it's just a throwaway bottle. Just a throwaway container. And the reason I like it on the containers, I can set this up, and it's staring at me, and I can, you know, be reminded to change the counter whenever I'm done with the row. And the container is just, I throw all my trash in there, all the little scrap yarns, so it's not getting all over the place. So that's, so the jar actually, it has a dual purpose. So that's the row counters. And then we got darning needles. I do not need this many darning needles. These, but they just seem to multiply on me. Getting kits and they you know, whatnot, and they just toss extra needles in there. So they're just growing on me. So that's my needle say here. Okay, so these little containers. Oh, look, here's another needle. This one's so big it didn't even fit in the case. So that's what that. I got these little containers at the dollar store. So this particular container has all my they're little hair clips. That's what these are. They're little hair clips. These I've had since the beginning, and I use the hair clips to actually mark my crochet rows, and I just love. I've always used them, and they work awesome. And as you can see, I lost a lot of them, so I try to buy some other ones, but these are much larger. I like the smaller ones, but this was what I ended up finding. This is what I got. So those, I use these as my stitch markers, and I could show you some how it lays. So give me a second and I'll pull that up. Current projects, and as you can see, I left the little clippy on here to let me know where the center of the kind of corner is to this. And so I like, see how flat they lay, and it doesn't split my stitches. I can easily clip it and unclip it and move it up and down the rows. So I really like how these lay, and they come in so many different colors that they're very easy to find in the work. So that's why I use them. I've been using them for years, and still is my preferred stitch marker for crochet here. So last type of stitch markers here that I have is these little kind of circular ones, and I only use this when working in the round, making little dolls and stuff. And the rounds are so small that you would go one round, and then when I was using these clippies, you'd have to clip and then clip it, re-clip it on the next round, and over and over and over, and it got so tedious. So I just ended up purchasing these, and these just slide right onto the new stitch. See if I can get it in here. Kind of the camera's in a funky, here we go. So I just would slide this into the stitch, and then do the row, and then take it out of the stitch and move it up, and re-slide it into the stitch. So that's all these are used for, is whenever I work on the round on little dolls or, you know, whatnot. So these work awesome. So that's what those are for. Speaking of stitch markers, here's the ones I use for knitting. And got the circular ones that go over the knitting needles. And we've got the little ones that look like little safety pins. These can go over the knitting needles, and these can be also used in crochet. I have another video that I think is like called knitting knitting and crocheting tips or tricks, and I'll put the link below in the description so you can take a look at it. But kind of one of the type of little tip that I had for it is like with the little safety pin one. Back to the project that I was doing at before, I had stopped at row 50 and I wanted to keep going, but I wasn't sure if I had enough yarn. So I stopped and I'm working on the other half of this, and then I'm going to go up to 50 rows and see how much yarn I have left over, and then be able to use the rest of my yarn evenly on both sides. So, but see how nicely they can just slide these little, numbers onto this, and at least, and it'll let me know where I left off. So this is also really good if you put the project away, you know what row you're on. So go check out that video and you can get some other tips on this. So then we got this guy here, also is for knitting, also from the dollar store. And these are all my point protectors for my knitting needles. These are little balls of yarn, and I thought these were so cute I had to get them. And the only problem is they're round, so they roll off the table and they bounce. So you got to be very careful with these. And these guys were also very different as well. I really like these when working with magic loop knitting, and I'll show you one of my projects to have it and show you how all these work. My project when I put it away. And so I really like these, how it just keeps my needles together close, especially when working the magic loop. So just wanted you to see how it looks when it's on the needles. So those are point protectors. And now we move on to rulers. This first ruler I don't even use, but it's for gauging my knitting needles in case those numbers rub off. I know what size it is. And this is actually my my first ruler, but you can see how glittery it is, and it made it very difficult to try to read the numbers. So I mainly use this to kind of put on top of my pattern and, move it down as I continue on my pattern. So that's what the primary use of that ruler is. And here's my actual ruler that I use for measurements. So whenever I put the ruler down and try to figure out my gauge, I then grab this little DPN here, and I actually use the DPN as a pointer as I count my stitches per inch. So that's what this DPN is sitting in here, and it's only one, and you don't see it's matching pairs. And here's some more pencil grips in case I lose the ones or that are my knitting needle, and a small crochet hook for when I am. Sometimes I like to instead of using the needles, I actually like using the crochet hook to weave in my ends. So or it's also could be good for repairing knitting, which I have not done. So I end up usually just tinking back to, but I use this more for weaving in my ends. And last but not least, I have some chocolate. The reason I have chocolate is because I don't like just straight up black coffee. I have to have it sweetened. So I keep some chocolate with me, so whenever I get coffee, and I can toss in some chocolate and creamer, and I'm set, because I like to be caffeinated.